Welcome, and thanks for taking your time to come. My name is Richie. I'm the Director of Provenance Events. I'm very happy to have you all here in Prague. It's actually my first time here too, so it's a very nice city for those who live here. And today, the meetup will be about designing with blockchain and how designers and developers can work together when you're building a product. So my company is Provenance Events. We're a global community and we help educate startups, enterprises and governments about the blockchain development cycle. So we bring startups and enterprises together, those who have a product, to teach attendees in the room like yourself about design, development, product management, compliance and regulation. So the problems with product development currently, either in blockchain or general tech, are the two major problems are resources and time. When went too far, sorry. So when startups and entrepreneurs are building a product, the first thing that they think of is we need a developer to build our software, whatever product that they are building, but they don't think about what the users want or what the customers want. So what happens is that you get a developer and they know all these sorts of languages and tools that they can use. They're very smart, but they don't think about what the users want. So here's where the designers come into play. That's what happens. So two types of designers, UI and UX. I won't go into them, but you can see the differences for yourself. So it's very important to keep in mind when you're building a product, the users and the customers, people who are going to be using your product. So there's a team of a designer and a developer working together from the very start. And this is our product development cycle that we've put together over the past year. It's the design thinking model and the development cycle, which equals product management. So the first speaker I'd like to introduce is Nick Saloon. He's the front-end engineer of Cryptokitties. He's going to talk about some challenges that they've done with their product and also how they've built with their users in mind.
Hi everybody, thanks for coming out tonight. Tonight I'm going to talk about designing for blockchain. But first, let me give a little introduction to myself. My name is Nick. I'm from a small Caribbean island called Trinidad. I lived there for 19 years. And then I left. I went to Montreal to study mechanical engineering. After that, I moved back to Trinidad and started a clothing brand. So it's all left brain, right brain, swap with it. Somewhere in my clothing brand history, I decided that I wanted to sell my clothes online, so I learned how to build websites. And after that, I got a job as a web developer, and then I went traveling around the world. I started blogging, and then eventually, in about September or so of 2015, I applied to Axiom 10 as a front-end engineer. I worked remotely for a year in Chile and in Trinidad, and then eventually in January of 2017, I moved to Vancouver, and about 6 months later, I was scheming the Cryptokitties product with a bunch of my co-workers, and in December of 2017, we launched Cryptokitties in Wild. So I'm a front-end engineer, and you're probably wondering, well, what is an engineer? You don't know about design in the first place. So my philosophy is that design is everybody's problem. I work with a bunch of really talented people, two kinds of designers who really showed me that design is about establishing a relationship between human and the things that you build. The more personal that you can make whatever it is you're working on, the stronger that relationship is going to be, and the more natural the usage and the connection is going to be. So for anybody who doesn't know, Cryptokitties, digital, cute cats living on the blockchain. They are non-fungible tokens, ERC-721 tokens on the Ethereum blockchain. And yeah, this is our baby. This is what we use for the basis of all our learnings right now. And yeah. So before we jump in, let's talk about why blockchain. Wow. All right. Well, why the internet in the first place? What did the internet give us in the 90s? It really gave us connectivity and stronger communication, and it got us in touch with a lot of services that improve our lives. So why not just put kitties on the blockchain? All philosophy has really strengthened in this regard. I personally believe that blockchain allows collaboration just by the nature of the technology itself. And our kitty artist himself, I think, said it best, that blockchain has the potential to change the course of digital art. And we saw this a lot in the past year through what we call extensibility, which is just the fact that ownership and art and tokens is so understood on blockchain and so proven and respected that it makes collaboration a lot easier. When you have collaborative designers, meeting with the original artist and saying, hey, I know you own this piece of art, but let's extend that, let's make that better. And we saw that through things like kitty hats and crypto goods and a lot of interesting projects that spun up. This is really this has become a staple in our philosophy as well. So let's jump into design. What are some of the challenges that we face? Well, design is an ongoing cycle. Design isn't just, I'm going to design this chair, I'm going to make it, and I'm going to put it out there, and then that's going to be the end of it, It really is an ongoing cycle of short iterations, understanding your consumer, and improving as a result. So, when we're talking about products, especially products that introduce new technology to users, this is a cycle that I think is very representative. We have this onboarding experience. Traditionally, it's I'm signing up. I'm a little interested. I'm going to give you my email and my password, and I'm going to see what this is about. I have an account. And then there's the first user experience, which is what is the first thing that the user does when they engage with your product. That should be representative of what's to come, If there's any times of uncertainty, support and guidance is very important. You need to get users through those initial hurdles, get them familiar and comfortable in their new surroundings. And then once they're cool with all that, you start to develop new experiences. And with new experiences comes the changing in user expectations. And then you're coming back around to onboarding again. You're onboarding now to new experiences. So what does design in blockchain look like right now? Blockchain is new, it's a little bit wild. It looks a little bit like this. It is a bit of a mess, to be honest. There is fragmentation of systems, and there is a little bit of cognitive overhead on the user's parts to just understand a ton of different protocols, a ton of different layers. And the truth is, the users just want to charge their damn phone, That's how they want to do it. So the current state of things is that, or the current perceived state of things, ideally, for the user would be that they learn about a game, they get a wallet, they get some ether, and then they interact with the game. If we're talking about blockchain gaming specifically, using Cryptokitties as the example, this is our ideal scenario here. But it's a lot more than that. The users are going to get way more than they bargained for when they first sign up for Cryptokitties. After they learn about the game, they're going to have to learn about blockchain. And, a lot of users, maybe they don't care about blockchain. They just like the cats, they just want just like what you're giving them. People tend to not care about necessarily underlying protocols and technologies, but rather the end product. People don't care about the material that the chair is made from, they care about the ergonomics and the design. So after they get a wallet, they bombarded with this whole private key thing. You know, there's your private key. Don't lose it, otherwise you're screwed. And before they need to buy an ETH, they have to understand cryptocurrency. So they go down the rabbit hole of understanding cryptocurrency, and then a few days later, they're like a PhD in finance. They finally understand that, and they buy some ETH, and then as they're about to buy ETH, they're like, "Oh, what's this? There's gas," you know. And the concept of gas is just so foreign to anybody. In this case, they're like, "Well, why can't I just stick my ATM in and get my cash? You know, stick my Visa in the ATM machine and get some cash." So they say, "Okay, this gas thing, I understand blockchain, it's expensive, whatever." And then they have to wait. So they've done all these hoops and bounds, got a degree in a bunch of information that they don't really care about, and then they still have to wait. And then finally, they wait, they understand transaction times, you know, or it could be a minute, maybe it could be a day, who knows. And then they're able to play the game, by which point they're thinking, well, what's the game? What's my wallet? Like, what's the whole difference? So it's pretty complicated. But this is where we're at. So this illustrates this concept of differentiating between what are the needs of the user versus what's the needs of the machine. I'm going to use a classic example here. Game Boy in the 1990s. Anybody here use Game Boy in the 90s? Enough people, right? When you first got a Game Boy, well, when I first got a Game Boy, I put a couple batteries in, I stuck a game in, and I started playing. Like, that was it, full stop. I didn't read any instructions, I didn't need to be onboarded. Okay, sure, there was like a little bit of familiarity because Nintendo was around for a while, you know? People were familiar with this whole idea of controls. But I went on a little rabbit hole of Game Boy commercials in the 90s this morning, and they're really weird. But I suggest everybody go take a look. But their selling point was, or their marketing point was, you have all the power of Nintendo that you need right in your hands. They never cared about the specs of the LCD screen, or what the processing power was, or what the frame rate was, you know. This was all important technology for the Game Boy to be efficient and practical, but it was removed from the user. It was totally abstracted. There was, you can switch it on, there's your cartridge, the stick in the slot, there's the keypad that you're familiar with, go play. And let the games guide you through the process, you know? We don't need to give you all this cognitive overhead. We will let the game of the system guide you naturally. So how do we separate the experience from the technology? This is the question that you need to ask yourself. You know, when technology is so new and education is so important, you still have to keep asking yourself, how do you separate the two? There are new concepts like gas prices. If you're coming from an engineering background, then you know this all too well. If you're coming from a design background, then gas prices are something so important that need to be conveyed to the user. In the early days of Cryptokitties, like in the first 3 days or so, people were burning money on gas, and they didn't even know, you know. And this is a pitfall, maybe an oversight on our part initially, because we thought, oh, people might just get it. But they were losing money on gas, and they had no idea why. When you're dealing with people's money, you know, you need to be a little extra careful. And then there's the idea of safety. So safety is a very big concern in this space right now, especially when you are telling somebody, hey, this is your key, and you need to keep it. We're not doing anything to protect it. That's frightening to users. Guiding them and educating them and supporting them through that step is the first stage of design, but it is cognitive overhead. The future stages of design and the future stages of engineering hopefully abstract these things away from users, but in the meantime, you know, this is new, this is very new for users, it's a bit frightening, and it's something to be very highly aware of. And then the user expectation right now as it stands is that, well, I can just log in from anywhere, you know. I got this wallet thing, I signed up for Cryptokitties. I want to play it on my phone now, you know. And they're going to go and they're going to download someone next to all that's on their phone, and they're going to think, well, this is an Ethereum wallet too. Like, why can't I log in? Where are my cats? You know, some people get Firefox and they install like MetaMask on a different browser on the same computer, which is it's so close to the source. You know, if you've got set up with MetaMask on Chrome, and then all of a sudden you're getting set up on Firefox, it is so close to the original source that it's just so off-putting that they're two completely different things. And that's just because of lack of knowledge, lack of us giving them knowledge and understanding about what's happening. So these are pretty new and tough concepts that we need to consider when we design. So what can we do right now? There's this really interesting article that covers 10 usability heuristics. I highly recommend it. It's a good kind of foundation for design and even for engineering. You know, if you read through this and you understand what is happening from the design perspective, it will help you build more comfortably, more confidently. Ready to take a picture? But I'm gonna break it down into something that I think is more human related. So, at the beginning of my talk, I was saying how design is really about the relationship that you can establish between human and product. Well, let's take it a little step back and let's talk about human to human. What is needed to establish a good relationship with somebody? You need to talk to them, you need to listen to them, and then after that, then you can really start to establish that connection. And as a designer and a builder, I want you to start thinking about your products in the same way. So what do I mean by talk? Give your products a personality. You know, let them speak, let them have a voice, let them connect to the users, and let them talk to the users like they're human beings. You know, we don't want our products to be scaring users and off-putting and robotic and mechanical all the time. You know, if we can give them a voice that they can relate to, then you already have their attention. You know, and by listen, I mean your product needs to listen to users now, right? We have their attention. They're starting to engage. They're in unfamiliar territory. Let your product listen to them. Let your product guide them through some experiences without giving too much information overload. You know, don't give them information that's unnecessary. Give them information that they need at that point in time. And then finally, connect. At this point, you have the users. You're in with the user, and it's about making that connection stronger and making it easier for them to just like you even more, right? What can you do to enhance their experience over time? How can you simplify things? How can you speed up things for them? Give them efficiency, you know? And that's kind of my personal summary of those design heuristics on a very human-to-human mapping level. So I'm gonna cap off here with some final thoughts. When you're designing, especially with blockchain, place heavy emphasis on what I call the failure path. So in any system, there are paths that users take that every step of the way, they might do something wrong, you know? And as designers and engineers, we often neglect that path to the last minute. You know, we're in a rush, we need to get our product out the door, and then first person comes to use it, and they do something wrong, and they're confronted with a very unhelpful error message. And in blockchain, because there's so many points of failure along the way, this is increasingly important. So if you can map out every single failure path, and instead of making it a dead end, make it a pleasant experience, make it a new experience, you know? That's just gonna be such a delight for the user, and they're never gonna feel like they're stuck or at a dead end. Apply the usability heuristics on new experiences as well. Those list of 10 usability heuristics, just read through them, understand that they are so applicable with how you get users in, how you guide them through, how you support them as they grow with your products, and how you guide them in times of uncertainty. And this one is important to me. I think that whatever you're building shouldn't just serve the user's basic needs, but I think that technology should also enable and empower users to connect, and to play, and to self-express. I will draw a little analogy from the 90s here as well, when the internet was first booming. A lot of people say that the success of the internet was due to certain web browsers, but I think the success of the internet really came when things like GeoCities and MySpace started to become popular, because it took users from this position of just consuming information and reading web pages and looking at pictures and stuff like that, to actually being able to create and self-express and put themselves out there and engage with this new technology in a way that just wasn't possible before. And Cryptokitties, the way that I feel about it, is that that whole ecosystem has enabled people to become creative and to become self-expressive and to explore the channels of art and the blockchain. And I think that products in general should do that. And then finally, you just need to be a little comfortable that things are kind of the wild, wild west for now. There's no long sets of papers that cover user testing and user research. You are the ones doing the user research. You are the ones doing things for the first time. And just be okay with that, you know? Get stuff out there. Integrate with your users very early on, as quickly as possible. Conduct your own user testing. Derive your own conclusions, and just take it from there. This is new, this is exciting, and it's really up to us to take it to the next level. And if we can do all that, then hopefully we can go from this to this. That's it for me. If you want to learn about what we're doing to improve design and improve adoption of the blockchain, you can check out what is Dapper.xyz. So Dapper is the parent company of Cryptokitties right now. So yeah, check us out. Thank you.
The next panel is about harmonizing product design and development, so how designers and developers can work together, some of the challenges that they've experienced. So I'd like to introduce Amir Rosic from BlockGeeks, and he'll be moderating Sarah Baker-Mills, who's the head of design for Consensys, and Bernard Gochrin from Festy, who's the engineering manager.
Presentation about design and blockchain. Before we go to this panel, going back to the original talk, did anybody learn something new from the last talk? Yes, no, raise your hand, yeah, a couple of things, cool. So basically for this panel, kind of want to continue off from our previous speaker, talking about UI, UX, and applying that within the blockchain space and how there is no heuristics, there is no framework right now. We're pretty much are in the Wild West trying to figure out what is UI, UX in the space. And so I don't want to make this kind of like a traditional panel where it's binary. We just hear us speaking, kind of open up as well. I know we're going to have Q&As afterwards, but I want to make this a little more dynamic. So I'm going to ask some questions for panelists and go back and forth to our audience if you guys are okay with that. Great. And so, what is there to be? Part of Consensys, the big giants, you know, world domination within blockchain, Joe Linder and staff, right, doing his thing. What's your take on UI, UX in the States?
Yeah, I'm going to be that person. So I don't call it UI, UX. I know that's a very popular term, but I'd like to see that change because UI is a subset of UX, and I also think, I don't know, so at Consensys, we typically, because it's not really a monolith, right, it's a bunch of little tiny startups, right, and just kind of group together under this umbrella, but like they're all autonomous, they're all doing their own thing. And the position that we've taken is that if you're an early stage startup, that you need and can afford it, the most senior, the most experienced product designer. And a product designer is going to look at things holistically. They're going to have a much more generalized skill set than you would get if, like, say you were at IBM or Citrix or a company with like much more established products that need specialized visual designers or specialized interaction designers or specialized, what have you, animation experts, that kind of thing. But when you're just getting started, a generalist product designer is going to take you farther. They're going to usually have some idea about the marketing as well. They're going to be able to do a little bit of research, prototype, which is so important, but also things will look reasonable enough to get a good idea if you're going to have traction. So.
Is there a difference? So, it's one thing for me to build my last business was all e-commerce. It's one thing for me to build, I can go use Shopify as a framework and put it on various e-commerce platforms, etc. But putting this in the blockchain space, whether you're building on Ethereum, whether you're building on Bitcoin, whether you're building on Cosmos, Polkadot, etc., there is no framework. So how do you go about, because you're talking about the front end aspect of it, right? How the user behaves with your product or with your product, right? So on the back end, how do you deal with the engineers who are trying to work with their head of product development? Is there a framework that you guys can sense or you personally have kind of outlined?
I mean, I think we are all still figuring it out, but several teams in Consensys have experiments that are running that they are getting data back on about how well does this work. The first not new idea is just regular design thinking. So the concept being that the designer is not going to go off in a corner and come up with something and then come back and say, hey developers, can you just build this? Same as the developers are not going to just build something and then say, hey designer, can you just make this look pretty? Like it is all together, thinking it through, aligning on what the problem is, prototype, test, build. The other is the way that we're prototyping. So let's say like Web 2 is like designing a chair, and Web 3 is like designing the auditorium. Right? Like it's by default going to have a lot of people, a lot of moving parts, and so that affects what happens and predicting behavior. So ways of prototyping that. So like role playing and game design techniques, and mushing that in with regular prototyping, regular design thinking techniques, but it is a little different, you're right, but we're still figuring it out.
Thank you. So I guess maybe to add to that a little bit, I guess I come from the traditional, say, back-end engineering skill set or development. And it's very interesting, kind of the world that I came from, where things started to improve, say, when agile methodologies became popular. It really tried to put the customer first in the mindset of the teams. Thinking things like artifacts like user stories, they force by definition, people that are working in those systems to think of the user first and foremost. And then when you layer in things like Sarah mentioned, like design thinking, design sprints, there's another nice little tool called impact mapping, which is really just putting the user or the goal of the company or the organization, or whatever the goal of the product is you're trying to build, front and center. Because when you put engineers in a room, and I'm one of them, the first thing you want to do is write code. Cut some code, get a product out there. But using these techniques, you're putting the user central. We're running an experiment at the moment where there's an assertion made by our teams at a retrospective where the collaboration between, say, traditional design and engineering just wasn't working as well as the teams felt it was, and we knew we needed to make a change. So we said we've got to get the teams working
more closely together because you had a traditional design team and you had a build team. And whilst they were both building a reasonably good product, everyone felt the collaboration just wasn't working. So we just put the teams together. It sounds very, very simple, but it kind of breaks down some of the traditional constructs that we have in engineering, whether it's design engineering or product engineering, to make that work better.
Is there any point where you guys have a heuristic or framework to figure out your trade-off? I'm a big firm believer on ship the product as fast as you can. You know, assumptions are the worst. We assume things will be better. You know, oh, because it worked in X, it must work on Y. And so, I know, you know, as an engineer, you have to code, ship as fast as possible, code, on building. So, I don't know, between your guys' organization, is there a certain, how do you guys determine this trade-off of, okay, we've done enough at this point, let's actually ship the product?
Yeah, I guess ultimately pace is super important. You know, when you think about blockchain, there's so much change and so much emerging and new companies and startups and some really cool ideas. But I guess ultimately, you know, getting your product out as quick as possible that actually fulfills the user's need is paramount. So I guess it's back to how you set yourself up for success. Some of the tools and frameworks that you use, I think, need to be very, very lightweight. So, you know, I had a conversation earlier with somebody. You know, I'm a big fan of, okay, you've got a product you want to build, you set yourself up with truly cross-functional teams, and you take a slice of that product, a thin vertical slice, and you get it out as quickly as possible. You test it on the marketplace and you iterate. And the team is composed of the people that you need to solve that problem. So whether it's a solution that can be delivered through your typical blend of UX, UI, back-end engineering, or it might just be an API you're building. There's no traditional front-end design, but there's still design that needs to be done. But you're right, it's getting out as quickly as possible. If you're thinking scale and a team you want to have, you know, not just in the short term, you want to have a happy team as well too, right? And hard to say, people think back to some of the early years of agile methodologies. XP was one of the, I guess, first ones that became quite popular. We talk about sustainable pace. So whilst there is always the demand to get really good product out as quickly as possible, you want to make sure you can keep that team together, or at least that core team together, as long as you can. So set yourself up for sustainable pace, which is really important when it comes to delivery.
So I want to kind of open up right now to the audience. If anyone has a question, just raise their hand. And we'll go around with my questions. Anybody?
I'll ask Nick to come up as well.
Yeah, sure. Actually, that's a great idea. Yeah, where you at? Surround? Louis? Paging next. Next, hang on. Alright guys, so if everyone has a question, we got a question over here.
So you mentioned that, Sarah, that for early stage startups, you recommend that they get, you know, an experienced generalist product designer as they can. How do you see that fitting with like product management roles, and like how do you see that interaction working? Do you see that as something that initially the product designer kind of shoulders, or is the PM role still something that's necessary, or is it kind of situational, and how to best kind of manage that relationship?
Okay, so I'm glad you asked that because it was something I really wanted to mention, that especially in this space, but I think it's really good for anybody, role overlap is a positive, right? So that your team has to communicate well, but every successful team I've ever seen has had a developer that like used to be a designer, or a designer that started, being a PM, or a PM that used to be, understanding what the others are doing, right, and appreciating that. But not actually doing it yourself, I think is pretty key. I will say that we have some really loaded job titles, and so I'm going to give you my version, but I'm not going to pretend that it is correct or even like regionally correct, and just changes what time zone are you in. Like, It's the phase of the moon. I don't know. The way I view product management and what their sole responsibility is the why, and the business model, right? They have to understand the market and they have to understand the user, and the product designer has to understand. It's great if they understand the market a little bit, but your product designer is not going to get into the pricing structure or what's appropriate for us right now. But you're both the PM and the product designer are going to understand the users, whereas I think the product manager is going to, historically I've seen them talk more to customers and call it more customer development because they're concerned about where is the revenue coming from, whereas the product designer cares about revenue, but they are more concerned with is this usable, is this needed, that kind of thing.
Yeah, just add to that, there is a term that you might have heard, a T-shaped team member. There's a few variations on that, but if you are building a team or you want to work with a team, or you're looking for an organization to join that encourages a T-shaped mentality in the team, I think it's very, very positive for the company and the team as a whole. So take your traditional, say, engineering team for want of a better word. I'd always look for engineers that would have specialists in the area that we need to support whatever product we're trying to build, but has the mentality or the skills to be able to flex in areas that can support the team in times of need. So if you take, say, traditional, say, Scrum team of design that might have design, UX, whether it's Java backend or whatever, database skills, it sounds obvious when you say it, but you look for those type of resources in the team that have that specialism, but also the willingness and the ability to be able to, whether it's contribute to a design or testing or database, it's a good thing to look out for, and as an engineer, it's a good thing to aspire to.
Any other questions? Questions?
Hello, thank you all. And the question is more related to, let's say, the possible paradigm as regards product management. We know that there is, let's say, the traditional waterfall approach. And right now we have the agile approach where we have more, let's say, adaptability towards the life cycle of the product. If we miss something, we change the code and go on. My question is, when we're talking about immutable code that we are implementing there and we are launching to production, how does it change? We need to use, especially the agile approach, because maybe we could be coding something and then, oh, heck, but we can't change that, it's already there. How do you approach that? You tend to turn more to the traditional waterfall approach to be sure that you are designing the right product and you will be doing that in the right way, or you just do agile with forks and stuff and duplicate your life product? I'm sure it doesn't.
Are you talking about smart contract development in particular, the fact that it can't change?
Yeah, well, we're talking about immutable code, so yes.
Right.
So when we are designing not the front end, but the function of the product itself.
Why? So I have a question for you. Why does it need to be immutable? And why can it not change?
Well, if we're talking about the economic applications, it needs the product to be immutable.
Right. But
because it's about creating trust in your customers, in your users. So
yes.
It has to be immutable.
So, I agree. So establishing trust is important. That's one thing, but I think that software changes so quickly all the time that we should be maybe designing our systems in a way that it can change, but we retain trust as well. Smart contracts in particular, obviously you deploy a smart contract, you think it's good, and then 2 weeks later you get hacked, and what you're going to do, right? You're kind of screwed. But something that we did for Cryptokitties, for example, was we published the smart contracts and open up, like an open source bug bounty. And we got tons of different community leaders and like contributing and discovering bugs, until you're at a point where you feel comfortable. And I guess at some point you have to feel comfortable to just put it out there and go for it, But with smart contract development in particular, it is different because the stakes are higher once you publish it. But I think designing trustless systems doesn't necessarily mean putting something that can't change. It means putting something that can change and that users will always be aware of, and they trust that whatever changes you make will be for their benefit. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, well, the interesting thing is that when we are talking about design mechanisms, where you will integrate new cryptoeconomics models with game theory and so on, you make assumptions about the incentives that people will have to behave in a way or in another using your app. Okay? What happens when you disrupt the incentive design? How do you change that? Do you step back?
When you find out that,
Okay.
I think it's a really good question. I don't think waterfall or agile is going to solve that problem. I think that's a challenge for the community. I would counter your question by asking, if you consider a traditional waterfall style development where you spend X number of months thinking about what you want, writing it down, and then the next few months designing it, and the next few months building it, the next few months testing it. The challenge with that is by the time you go to release what you think was the perfect product a year from when you started, the environment has changed, your customers have changed, the marketplace and competition has changed. So you probably know this already, given the really good question you asked. What Agile challenges you to do is to try and still think really carefully about what you're doing, so it doesn't change that mentality, but you're trying to chunk it up into smaller pieces, but it still doesn't solve the problem that you pose. That's a challenge, I think, irrespective of your delivery methodology. It is a great question. I think your level of risk reduces though, so that risk that is there for anyone that say delivering smart contracts, in theory reduces because you're delivering something smaller and getting feedback quicker. I think where Agile gets bad press is that there is this, perception among some that it's cowboy coding or you're rushing something out. I would say quite the opposite, because your traditional Agile teams that are working in Agile methodology tend to favor high degree of automation, test automation. Quality is central to a lot of the Agile approaches that I've seen anyway. And I think the emphasis on quality is a lot more now with the emphasis on getting it right. So you're just trying to get it right with a smaller piece. Be very careful what you do. We're trying to obviously balance that with the demands of shareholders or CEO or whoever to get there as quickly as possible. But pretty good question. Food for thought, I think.
Any other questions? Go right there. And then the next one.
So, question for everybody, very generic. There's this debate if people should know about the blockchain, users should know about the blockchain or not, should we hide the technology away? And it relates to one of the most common questions I hear from people, which is, why should I care? If we want to build the businesses on top of the blockchain or on top of decentralization, let's say better, how do you guys think that design can help solve and answer that question, the why of decentralization?
Well, I'll just take that for you ended off with the word decentralization. I think that's a really open-ended, broad term. It's a term being like some buzzword in this way. Decentralization, like, pardon my French, what the fuck does that mean? You know, what level of decentralization? Is a root chain decentralized? Is a team member decentralized? People have access to GitHub decentralized? Like, what is decentralization? I don't think so. We know. Are the nodes decentralized? There's so many different definitions of it. And why does it have to be decentralized? Like, I do investing on this, so I get pitched all the time for like Amazon competitors. We're making decentralized Amazon. I'm like, please run away from me. My last business was Amazon. I love Amazon. They take care of everything for me. Customer support, logistics, supply chain. They even give me loans for my business. Why do I need that to be decentralized? I love it. Decentralization, who does my customer support? Who's going to help me out? Nobody. And so I think, at least currently in this landscape, there are certain things that make sense for decentralization. Like censorship-resistant, maybe platforms for freedom of speech. Censorship-resistant money, as in Bitcoin, Monero. Even like utility companies, I think eventually you might see kind of like a decentralization of like a Wikipedia, some kind of a platform of human-based knowledge out there that's created some interesting token design model that helps people out. But going back to your question about, do people care? No, people don't care. People don't care about decentralization. They don't care about privacy. They don't care about anything. If you ask them how Amazon's built, or PayPal, how many people use PayPal? Everybody uses PayPal. You know, I don't know how PayPal works. I don't care how PayPal works. All I care is PayPal works. That's it. And so I think we're like this interesting stage, if you look at the Gartner hype cycle, where we're not at the early stages, maybe we're a little further off right now. And I'm not talking about like the value of crypto, I'm just talking about technology underlying crypto right now. Is, you know, we're still attracting like the early evangelists. And for us to go mainstream, to be at the point of like, I don't know this tech, I'm not too sure what we need to do to get us there. So I really don't have a straight answer for you, but like a lot of questions still need to be answered.
I'll tell you what we need. No, I agree. I just think my point of irritation in the conversation is these sweeping generalizations that are good guesses, right? People don't care about the people who live, right? But I think we see every now and then somebody who definitely cares, right? So y'all saw, what's her name? The Spank Chain, Brianna? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes, okay, her. So she does cam work, and I'm butchering this, but I think what happened was like her bank account got frozen because they found out that she was in the sex industry, right? And that is a thing that happens a lot. And I don't want to like borrow her story, but like she obviously cares about this type of thing, about how to control self-sovereign identity or decentralization or whatever. So I think those stories are out there.
What favorite decentralized systems and money stuff?
Yeah.
You're talking about like whether it's like Bitcoin or Monero, that's completely different than us talking about like, oh, this is a DApp that does X, or this is a DApp that has a bunch of users or whatever.
Yeah.
Those are two different paradigms.
I just, when we make these statements that, because I see it a lot, users don't care about you. And I want to see the research. Like, I would like to see the study that person conducted, and what the methodology was, and what were the questions that you asked, because I don't think that, you know, that you can say something like that without actually digging into it and asking it. I think it's the same with, you know, on the marketing side of things, which is 50% of this pizza party, is the narrative and the sentiment about how people feel about this, right? And it could be decentralization, but it also just might be knowing that it even exists. You know, like, there are people that I interact with, I'm in North Carolina in the US, and never heard of Bitcoin, right? Which I would not assume. So I would like to see some more data before we say stuff like that, before like we announce that people don't care, like they might. But I've never seen anybody conduct any kind of.
I got it. Maybe we should just change the word decentralization to how it was before, like BitTorrent, which is peer-to-peer. That's pretty much what all the actual goal is. Person to person, as opposed to like person installed and language kind of person. Just a thought.
So I agree with both of you on a lot of things. And I think what people don't care about, when I say, oh, people don't care about that, it's not that they don't care about decentralization, whatever that means, but they don't care about gas. They don't care about managing their private keys for themselves, you know? We did a little bit of user research ourselves, and people were like, you can pay my gas for me and just deduct it, you know? I don't want to know about that shit. I don't care. People want to just be able to log in from any device, you know? They broadly understand, maybe at this point, why blockchain and decentralized can be good for certain things, in the same way that they understand why the internet is good, right? 99% of people have no clue how the internet works, but they use it, they know about it. And blockchain is in that broad category of technology like the internet, right? Where there are so many underlying protocols and standards and exchanging, and we have no idea what mass adoption even looks like. So when I say that people don't care, I mean they don't care about standards and protocols and white papers and all that nonsense. But they do care about immutability and ownership and that type of stuff. So it's finding that balance, you know. Every successful technology and every successful platform had its breakthrough. As I mentioned with the internet, I thought it was the adoption of things like GeoCities and NXN and apps and MySpace and whatnot. Chat like ICQ, I don't know if any of you remembers that. If you look at the smartphone revolution, it was really, like the game changer really was when people got familiar with the App Store, right? Like, oh my god, the App Store, and you just get a game. People care about how the App Store works, or like who knows the data or whatever, you know. But there's always that inflection point in any piece of technology, and people like a lot of things that the tech gives them without needing to understand and like the tech itself. So
where we're going?
I don't know. We'll have to see. That's it, right? Like we can't predict it. All we can do is give our best guess and keep the user in mind, you know, just keep giving the users the best possible experiences. Look at history, look at the gaming industry and the porn industry, as you said. Like when anytime those two industries show early signs of success on a platform, it historically has been good for the platform adoption itself. So we have Cryptokitties and we have Spamchain. We'll be on to something.
Next question.
Hi. So I think I kind of agree with Sarah a little bit earlier.
Take a credit card.
Like in the year. Okay. So well, in the year 2000, there was this book called "Don't Make Me Think" by Steve Krug. I'm sure like a lot of people here like know it, right? And I think it's been like the thing, right? You're a designer, you should design something that people do it intuitively. You don't have to think so much, you know. You have to prioritize convenience over whatever shit that is not conveniences, right? And look what it leads us into. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, it is good that it's easy to use, right? But when you really think of this, how much we rely on all the tech companies without ever thinking? Because we are all here, we are designers, we helping building this culture. And when you really think of it, right? I'm a designer. I work in like different teams, and it is super common that, for example, okay, you have to create an account within this app, right? And then there's gonna be the button delete account or whatever, right? And we're gonna hide it somewhere. We're gonna make it a bit difficult. It's gonna be in, you know, like you have to go into the settings and in the extra layer and expand it and go like, you know, do you remember before GDPR how difficult you find the unsubscribe button for an email that 90% I don't want, right? Like it's really difficult, like just to be honest. And I'm not too sure, I mean I don't have a solution, but I'm not too sure that this is the culture that we wanna like together, like, you know, heading towards, right? Thinking of today, like thinking of in the next like 10 days, right? Like 10 years, like how is it gonna build? What is gonna be easier, right? But I mean, like, yeah, I don't know, like as a designer, like, okay, we work in a team, you know, I mean, we don't work alone, but then it's like, it's very common just to, hide this, put it somewhere else, people don't see it. I mean, you're working in a company, but you're also a user of the other product as well, but how do you feel that it's so normal to just do this, you know, so people just can't find it, you know, and I think it's not like, I think it's not good to just make people don't think. I think there should, of course, maybe something that's really not relevant directly to their privacy, maybe they don't have to think so much about that, right? But I mean, like something that's related to them, they should stop and think of it, because not everything in the world is about conveniences, I would say.
That's a great way to end it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Amir, Sarah, Bernard, and Nick. I hope you all guys learned something new today about design and development and how it's important to work as a team from the very start when you're building a product. Thank you for your time, and I hope you'll enjoy Prague and Devcon. See you guys at Devcon. And actually, in 3 weeks, I'm hosting another event, which is our biggest one in Seoul. Yep, it's the Floating Island Convention Center, and most of the Ethereum projects will be there. It's their first time in Korea, and I look forward to working with them. So see you there.